What's going on, everybody? It's another Al Gattulo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970. The Answer. Yeah, it does come in waves. That is Yacht Rock Review. Have you heard Yacht Rock Review? You've heard me talk about them on this show. They are a cover band out of Atlanta, Georgia, that just plays exceptional. They're phenomenal. I've seen them over the last couple of years. They're a wonderful band. They're playing again locally. I think it's Pier 17 next month. It's Pier 17 on a Friday night, which that's the night I'm going to see ELO in Philadelphia. The 20th of September. And then the 21st of September, they're down at the Stone Pony Summer Stage. Now, I'm planning to go to the show, but not actually to go in. You can actually listen to a lot of the music in Asbury Park just by sitting on the boardwalk. But I plan to go. If it's a nice night, I think I'm going to take the ride down with my wife and go check them out. But if you haven't, that's a new single from them called Waves, and they're a great band. You definitely should check them out. Don't hate on them. They're phenomenal, and it's stuff you can sing along to. It's the captain's hats, the whole thing. They're phenomenal. All right, brand new show this week, and coming up in just about 20 minutes, Gary Monterosso will join me on the program. Gary has done various beer talk shows in Jersey, Philadelphia, written so much about craft beer. He is joining me to talk about the American Craft Beer Hall of Fame, which was just created a few weeks back. I spoke about it on last week's Best Of show, and we will get into it with Gary about his being one of the members of the board, how they're going to go moving forward, selecting people to be in the American Craft Beer Hall of Fame. I think this is something that should have happened a long time ago, but is finally happening now as a 501c3. And so we'll talk to Gary about that and the process coming up in just about 20 minutes. Of course, portions of the program brought to you by Wet Ticket Brewing. We thank our good friends at Wet Ticket Brewing for sponsoring the show. 1435 Main Street in beautiful Rahway, New Jersey. Parking across the street in the parking garage. You can take New Jersey Transit. Plenty of eating options as well. Phenomenal place. And in our next segment, we're going to talk about an event that Wet Ticket is doing this coming Wednesday at the brewery that I will be attending, cigars and beer. We'll talk about that in our next segment. But let's dive into some other stuff because there is a lot of stuff to get to. So they finally made the official announcement at Icarus Brewing. Lagerfest 2024 is coming. It is Saturday, September 7th. It is all lagers. I think they're going to have one. I think Yacht Juice is going to be the only IPA that's on draft. It's a celebration of lager to include plenty of epic beer collaborations, an awesome music lineup, and killer vibes that you don't want to miss. Stay tuned for updates. Follow them on their socials for what beers and what collabs will be at Icarus in their new location in Brick, New Jersey. It's a full day of beer and music. It's going to be great. I will be there. Starts at noon, runs until I think 9 or 10 o'clock at night. Phenomenal event that Jason puts on every year, and I love it. I don't miss it. It's so much fun, and it's a day to celebrate lagers, which is always a good thing. And a good time to do it, too, in September as the weather is starting to change and summer is coming to an end. But before that, you want to do something the week before? You like pool parties? And if you like Torch and Crown beer, well, they're having a pool party in New York City. You heard it right. Torch and Crown's Union Square location, located at 20 Union Square West. This is Sunday, August 25th, from open to close, noon to 8 p.m. It's free to attend. Just go to Eventbrite and check in there. But the day is going to be filled with sun, lawn games, your group's private pool, and good vibes. It's a limited time, one day only menu of lobster rolls, fish tacos, and more. If you want to reserve a pool, events at torchandcrown.com. You can email them for more information. You can go on Eventbrite and do a search for Torch and Crown. You'll find it there. And you can obviously reserve a pool for you and your friends and have a pool party right in New York City, which is pretty cool, don't you think? All right, what else is going on? Stone Brewing is doing a big event. They are celebrating 28 years of Stone Brewing. This November the 2nd, that is from 4 to 8 p.m., they're getting together with all their best friends, like you, to commemorate nearly 3 decades of good times and great beers. They have 2 different festival tickets. Excuse me. $140 is the Rare Beer Festival tickets. That includes unlimited 2-ounce pours of exclusive rare beers or main festival beers, tasty bites from the kitchen, commemorative glass to take home, live music, and 1 hour early entry to the main festival at 3 p.m. This, of course, is taking place at the Stone Brewing World Bistro and Gardens in Escondido. So, again, $140, you get unlimited pours. You get in an hour early. So 3 to 8 p.m., bites from the kitchen, a commemorative glass to take home, live music, and again, like I said, 1 hour early entry. If you are a rare beer designated driver, the ticket for that is $30. Now, if you don't want to spend that much and you want to spend $70, you get unlimited 2-ounce tasters of beer from 40-plus breweries. You get a commemorative glass to take home. You can purchase food, and there's live music, and the designated driver for that one is $20. So $140 you're going to get. You're going to get in an hour early. You're going to get food included. You're going to get unlimited pours, rare beers, main festival beers for $140. That's not a bad deal. And you get in an hour early, so you get 5 hours, which is pretty good. $70, you just get the beer from the main breweries that will be there, a glass to take home, food available for purchase, and then live music as well. So 28 years of Stone Brewing, Saturday, November 2nd from 4 to 8 p.m. I don't know. I was kind of thinking maybe a quick flight out to San Diego. That wouldn't be a bad idea. Right around San Diego Beer Week. But it's election day. I don't know. I don't think I can do it. But anyway, if you're in the area, go. It's a great event. You'll have a great time. And the beer garden in Escondido is just awesome. Von Ebert Brewing has released their seasonal fest beer. It is honoring the German roots of Grandma Von Ebert. The beer embodies their motto, where tradition meets evolution. The festival beers of Bavaria evolved from darker-colored Marzens to the lighter-colored fest beers that you see today. In this beer, we highlight that modern presentation, that from Sam Pecoraro, the brewmaster of Von Ebert Brewing. Fest beers, smooth, subtle use of hops and slightly more malty notes make it a perfect beer to transition from summer to fall. It is available as both draft and 16-ounce 4-packs at all Von Ebert Brewing locations, along with Northwest bars, bottle shops, and grocery stores, such as New Seasons. That started on August the 15th, and it will continue throughout the fall. And then finally, I don't know if you know this, but World of Beer, I don't know if you remember these restaurants, World of Beer. There was one in New Jersey, New Brunswick. I believe there was one in New York as well. They, about a week and a half ago, they filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. WOB Holdings and 11 affiliates, some of which have already closed, filed a petition in the U.S. Bankruptcy Court for the Middle District's of Florida's Tampa division back on August the 2nd. Listen to this. In it, World of Beer claimed that it has between $0 and $50,000 in assets and between $10 million and $50 million in liabilities owed to between 1 and 49 creditors. They owe $25.6 million across 2 loans to secured creditor Synovus Bank, which will take first priority in repayment. The World of Beer's collateral to Synovus is significantly less than the amount of the debt, according to a joint Chapter 11 case management summary submitted to the court. 34 locations, down from more than twice that in 2015. Some owned directly, some joint ventured, some were franchised. This is a bunch of these locations, obviously in Florida, one in Louisville, owned by World of Beer. They have closed a number of them all across the country: California, Florida, Indianapolis, Indiana, Maryland, Syracuse, New York, Middletown, Wisconsin. Here's the problem. So COVID-19 really knocked these guys down. At close, there was, some open, some didn't. They didn't fully open. Obviously hard to staff. I was at World of Beer once, and this was the one in New Brunswick. The food was garbage. The beers, okay, not the best selection in the world, but a decent where you could find something, but no consistency. You can't call yourself the World of Beer and not have local representation, rare stuff, good stuff, and your food has to be on point. If you're opening like an Applebee's or a Chili's, you're not going to be around long. Nobody wants frozen food. Nobody wants the food's there, we just warm it up and serve it to people. That's not what you got to have. You want it to be an experience. That's part of the problem. And obviously, if you owe that much money, man, that's not good. You're in big locations, paying top dollar for rent. Not a smart idea. I mean, again, this is a trend that we're seeing, not just from restaurants, breweries as well. and it's not good. And there needs to be, maybe we'll talk about this with Gary a little bit coming up, because I'm sure he has some insights as to why these things are happening as well. But when we come back after a short break, I'm going to tell you more about the Wet Ticket Brewing cigar event that's happening this Wednesday at Wet Ticket Brewing, 1435 in Main Street in beautiful Rahway, New Jersey. That's coming up next on the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970, The Answer. Welcome back to the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970, The Answer. A little Dick Commissar from After the Fire. One-hit wonder. Interesting. I love the original version of that song. I mean, the English version is good, but the original German version is fantastic. And I'm sure, if you lived in the 80s, you heard it at some point. Now, coming up in 10 minutes, Gary Monterosso will join me to talk about the American Craft Beer Hall of Fame. It was just created a couple weeks ago, and I spoke about it on last week's Best of show. Talk about it with Gary in depth, and also some other beer related news as well with Gary. Gary does a great job covering beer, spirits, all those great things down in South Jersey, but on various programs, both radio and television. You've seen him, a million times. Gary's a great guy, and it was great to finally get him on the program here. That happens in just about 10 minutes from now. The big news, Tilray. Now, I know I mentioned the whole wet ticket cigar thing. We'll get to that in just a second. But the other big news of the week is that Tilray Brands announced a definitive agreement with Molson Coors Beverage Company to acquire 4 craft beer brands in its 10th and Blake division. So listen to this. As part of the transaction, Tilray will add Hop Valley Brewing Company in Eugene, Oregon, Terrapin Beer Company in Athens, Georgia, Revolver Brewing in Granbury, Texas, and Atwater Brewery in Detroit, Michigan. Financial details were not disclosed. Transaction expected to close later this month. Tilray Brands Chairman and CEO Irwin D. Simon said when the transaction closes later this month, the growing brewery platform will add 6 brew houses, taking its total to 20 breweries across the country, production of more than 1 million barrels of beer, 15 million case equivalents annually. This would land Tilray firmly in the number 4 spot among BA-defined craft breweries, nudging out Gambrinus, which owns Shiner Trumer, which produced 483,929 barrels in 2023, according to the Brewers Association. Simon added that the company's distribution business will expand by more than 20%. He said, there's places today that are selling these brands that we're not. That will help us get additional distribution there, obviously, of their other brands. Asked about the timing of the deal in relation to the 2023 transaction with AB, Simon said, when something comes up, you've got to react. And as you look at these businesses, there is the brew houses, there is the on-premise, there's the retail part of it, and then there's the manufacturing. So there's a lot to do. But the good news is we have a year under our belt of a good playbook that we put in place with the ABI pieces. Now this is less than half the size, probably less than what ABI was. So we felt we could absolutely integrate this and digest this. Simon said Tilray is no longer on a transitional services agreement with AB and has shifted production of Tilray products to its own facilities and has its own infrastructure in place for sales, marketing, merchandise, financing, and operations. Unlike the AB deal, the 4 soon-to-be-acquired brands produce 98% of their volume at their own breweries and not at Molson Coors' larger production facilities, so a continued service agreement is unnecessary, says Simon. Simon stressed that Tilray isn't out there looking to buy anything. He said we get offers every day to buy certain craft brands, but we have a strategic plan of what we want and what makes sense. This all coming from Brewbound. Very interesting here. And full disclosure, I'm a stockholder in Tilray Brands. And the price of the stock went up the following day, not to where it was when I bought it, but it's climbing, which is good. That's interesting now. So AB is no longer even making those beers. they've shifted it all to Tilray's production, which is interesting. So maybe I'm going to grab a Blue Point at some point and see if there's any difference in the next couple of months. It'll be interesting to see. But they added 4 more breweries. That's pretty interesting, especially the fact that, everybody is saying that there is a downturn in the business, and Tilray is just gobbling up these breweries that, let's face it, need a little push. They need a little help to get things moving. And again, you can be on the case of, I don't drink national brands, I only drink local, and that's fine. But from a business standpoint, this is a good thing. For an overall business standpoint of the craft beer business, I think this is a good thing because the fact that Tilray is not owned by a conglomerate, it's a Canadian company, that is privately owned, or I guess publicly owned, right? Because they sell stock. I don't know. Anyway, it's a good thing. It keeps these people in business. It keeps things moving along, and maybe it changes your attitude a little bit of drinking one of those beers. I mean, I wouldn't have a problem now going to a Yankee game and drinking a Blue Point beer because I know it's not AB InBev. So, there you go. All right, Wet Ticket Brewing Stick Cigars in Rahway. They're gonna be hosting. They will be hosting an event this coming Wednesday, August 21st, 7 to 10 p.m. It'll be at Wet Ticket Brewing in their beer garden around back, 1435 Main Street in Rahway, New Jersey. Portions of the program, of course, brought to you by Wet Ticket Brewing here. $35 at the door. Here's what you get. You get 1 hand-rolled cigar. You get 3 10-ounce pours of beer, and you get live music by DJ Gringo. I think this is a great thing. Plenty of parking on the street, plenty of parking in the parking garage. You can also take New Jersey Transit if you'd like, and you get off the Rahway stop and walk about a block and a half, and you're at the brewery. I mean, it's fantastic. So I would certainly, I will be there to enjoy a nice cigar and a couple of beers. It'll be a late night for me, but it will certainly be worth it. We love the fact that Wet Ticket sponsors portions of the program, and we have a collaboration beer that we're going to be doing very soon that will now probably, we're doing it mid-August, late August, so probably sometime in September, early October, we will have that beer out. So that's going to be a lot of fun. As I mentioned, Blocktoberfest 2024, tickets are on sale right now by New York City, the New York City Brewers Guild. Sunday, September 29th, it's at Brooklyn Brewery, indoors for the first time. Tickets are on sale now. You can get them, and it's a timed event, but it's unlimited pours. But definitely, it's only New York breweries, and it absolutely benefits the New York brewery scene. So this is a really cool event. You should definitely get in on that. And then finally, Allagash has released a Cascadian Dark Ale. Listen to this. This is inspired by a love of pitch black porters and the brewery's house beer. Allagash Haunted House is a 6.66%, get it? Cascadian Dark Ale with a coffee-flavored bitterness and hauntingly complex malty palate, just in time for the fall and for October. So there you go. Allagash coming up with the Dark Ale. I love this. I'm recording the show, and there's an insect in the studio just buzzing by the microphone. I don't like that. I just don't like that. By the way, for those of you who think that the program is live, it's not. We record it ahead of time during the week so that we can put it out on Sunday nights or whenever you're listening. You could be listening on a Monday or a Tuesday, just kicking back, maybe exercising or whatever it is that you're doing. I do love the acquisition by Tilray for good brands. Certainly, Terrapin, a top-notch brewery down in Georgia. You've got Hop Valley in Eugene, Oregon. They've spread themselves out, and again, I think it's for a further purpose of getting their other beers out there, which is not a bad thing. If you're a business, you're trying to get your beer to as many places as possible. So it totally makes sense from their point of view. And, and again, being a little selfish, as a stockholder, I want to see the stock go up, not down. So this is a good thing. When we come back after a short break, Gary Monterosso, he'll join me to talk about the American Craft Beer Hall of Fame. And we'll also talk about who should be in it, how they're going to vote, et cetera, et cetera. That's next on the Al Gattuso Craft Beer Cast on AM 970, The Answer. All right, welcome back to the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970 The Answer. And my next guest is somebody that I've known for quite some time. I was actually on his South Jersey radio program a long time ago, talking beer. And I was thinking about it. I've never actually had him on this program. And what a perfect time to have this gentleman on. He's been hosting a variety of craft beer shows for years in New Jersey and Philadelphia, on TV, on radio, along with writing for a number of different national and local publications about the world of craft beer and other stuff as well. You can check out his beer show. It's called Beverage Chronicles. It's on Saturdays at pop999fm.com, or his other program, Vintage Vinyl, on Thursdays. That's also at pop999fm.com. Follow him on the socials and Instagram at Gary Drinks Beer. Let me welcome to the Craft Beer Cast for the first time, Gary Monterosso. Gary, thanks for joining me. How are you, my friend?
Al, thank you so much for having me. Really looking forward to this, and hopefully I can catch up with you in AC at some point, huh?
That would sound like a plan for sure. Now, it is about time, my friend, that someone put together a Hall of Fame for craft beer in America. How did this get started, and how were you asked to join the board?
A fellow by the name of Marty Nachel, whom you may know from a couple of his books, Beer for Dummies, Homebrewing for Dummies. He's been in the industry for over 30 years as a home brewer, a homebrew supply shop owner, professional beer judge, literally traveling all over the world. He harbored the idea, I'm going to say late last year, and reached out to me in January. So we've been kind of sitting on this for like 8 months or so. Mm-hmm. And I think his logic kind of goes back to what he perceived as the downturn in the craft beer industry over the past couple of years. So he's harbored the idea, as I mentioned, but seeing this downturn, he felt it was an opportune time to kind of take stock in the industry that, you know, all of us love and care so much about. And he felt it would be a way to help lift spirits and maybe reinvigorate public interest in craft beer. So that in mind, he reached out to apparently about 40 or 50 people to be involved in various roles. In my case, he asked me to come on the advisory board to the American Craft Beer Hall of Fame. And what that means is what we'll be doing very, very shortly is compiling a list of nominees of people. Well, I'll get into those organizations, I guess those groups shortly, but nominees from which another group called electors will choose. Right. And I suspect this is all going to be coming down within the next couple months or so.
Now, the website that is up for people to look at, it's AmericanCraftBeerHallOfFame.com. Yeah, it's a bit of a mouthful, but it's a great site. We'll post some links to it so you can click right on it. And so as you mentioned, as the part of the advisory board, you guys are going to get together and sort of bandy about who is going to be this first class that will be inducted into the American Craft Beer Hall of Fame. Is it somewhat like the NFL Hall of Fame, where, you know, these selectors go into a room and they argue the merits of the candidate, and, you know, he won 2 championships, he did this, he did that? Is that how the criteria is sort of going to go?
What I can say is that there will be different wings, as you mentioned. Just like you mentioned the Football Hall of Fame, I'll throw it to baseball, where there's 4 wings. There's players, there's managers, there's executives, there are umpires. So it's been agreed upon that there will be multiple wings to honor all those mentioned. Now, what we're still kind of discussing, but it's pretty much settled, is as to who are these groups, who are going to be these groups. Example, brewers, brewery owners, maybe ingredient suppliers, journalists. I propose maybe organizations such as Brewers Association.
Nice.
So that's still to be decided.
Okay.
And just ordinary citizens. I know. I even talked about the possibility of including some chefs whom I know, some celebrity chefs who have incorporated beer into recipes or pairings. Mm-hmm. So there's a whole host of groups. It's pretty much settled. I think there's just some finer points to go over, but it looks as though those are the main possibilities that we're going to incorporate, with formal nominations taking place, I'm going to say within the next couple of months, quite frankly.
We're talking with Gary Monterosso. He's an author, host of various beer and music programs, and he's just recently asked to be on the advisory board of the new American Craft Beer Hall of Fame. More info is at that website. Just go to AmericanCraftBeerHallOfFame.com. We're here on the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970. The Answer. Now, Gary, did he mention if there would be a physical location at some point so that people can go to it, or is it just going to be online only? And if there is going to be a physical location at some point, I wonder what city would you put it in?
Excellent question. And initially it will be an online sort of thing. However, there are plans and there's some finances that are coming into play that lead me to think that it will, in fact, be a physical location, with my strong suspicion that it'll be in the Chicago area, in part because that's where Marty Nachel lives. So I think it's going to be in that area, and he can kind of oversee it a bit more.
Perfect.
This is a nonprofit organization, by the way. I do want to mention that to you. It's a 501c3 nonprofit.
Right.
And part of its mission is to raise funds for this wing. So I fully suspect that at some point it is going to be fully active and not just virtual.
I love it. I love the idea. I love the fact that it would be in Chicago, at some point as a physical location for people to go to. And I think that it's something that, from an educational standpoint, and obviously being a nonprofit, this is something that people should be educated on. Beer is sort of ensconced in this American dream sort of thing, since the 70s, since, Jimmy Carter signed the legislation to allow home brewing and allow the explosion of craft beer, which started in the 70s, but obviously really didn't take hold until, firmly ensconced until the 2000s. But I think that's a really great idea to put it in Chicago. Now, let's shift gears for a minute. You've got 2 shows on radio in South Jersey. Beverage Chronicles airs on Saturdays. Who have you been talking to recently that's been on the program?
What I wanted to do when I started Beverage Chronicles, which was a spinoff of an original show called What's on Tap, was to incorporate not just people in the beer world, but I'm actually I've worked with some people who are producing wine, growing grapes, coffee roasters. So the focus is pretty much anyone who's involved in liquid refreshment.
Okay.
Beer will be the major, retains the fact that it's a major part of the show. So I'd say maybe 75% of my guests are beer related. These are brewers, these are brewery owners, maybe the people who are pouring the beer for you. So it's more of a cross-section of people in the industry. And again, it's not just beer.
We're talking with Gary Monterosso. He's the author and host of various beer and music programs. Has just been recently asked to be on the advisory board of the new American Craft Beer Hall of Fame. More info at the website, AmericanCraftBeerHallOfFame.com. We're here on the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970. The Answer. Gary, what's your take on all of these craft breweries around the country that are closing? Is it a case of not recovering from the pandemic, a mismanagement of their finances, or is it something else?
Combination of so many factors. The ones that are closing, the ones that I've seen closing, have had some management issues, quite frankly, production issues, distribution problems. We can also, pandemic, oh my goodness, no question about that. Increased costs. Just to put out a pint of beer is costing brewers more and more all the time.
Right.
The infusion of RTDs, the ready-to-drink cocktails, it's had an impact. Take a look at Boston Beer, for example, Jim Cook. Most of his sales, 55% of his sales, are his hard tea, as opposed to beer. So consumer preferences are certainly evolving as well. Is craft beer dead? Oh, my goodness, no. It's still very, very strong. There are still more breweries opening than closing, just not at the rate that it was, as you mentioned, Al, 5, 10, 15 years ago. And so I'm not sounding the death knell for this at all. I think the industry is going to remain very, very strong. Yeah,
and I think it's a question of you have to be able to pivot. Younger drinkers are not drinking alcohol as much. They're going to alternative things. And I think as an owner of a brewery, I think you have to try and figure out a way to shift those trends to get people into your place and keep them there for a little bit. And whether it's making different beverages, whether it's a trivia night or something like that, or something to entice people to come into the door, that's, I think, the way that you have to do that. If you just keep saying, well, I'm just going to keep making the same beer and stick my head in the sand, and I know that people are going to come in, eventually those people are all going to go away, and that's not necessarily a good thing. All right, my last question, Gary. If there was one person you could pick to be in the American Craft Beer Hall of Fame, and you didn't have to vote for them, each board member would get one pick of a person at some point, down the road, whether it's now or a year or two from now, would be in the Hall of Fame, whom would it be?
That would be the original beer hunter himself, Michael Jackson. I was privileged to be able to tour with him. When he came to the States from England, he spent a couple of nights at our house. I was schooled by him. I learned not only about beer, but how to treat people, how to leave a brewery and have a brewer feeling good about himself or herself, even though Michael may have felt some of the beverages were not up to snuff, may have been flawed a little bit. He was just so adept at leaving someone feeling good about himself or herself because of their beer. And Michael started the industry. He legitimized everything through his Beer Hunter TV show, his plethora of books, and his just sheer presence.
Gary, that is it's a great answer, but it's not the answer that the explanation I was expecting of how to treat people, and I love that, and I think that's a great thing because I think, and I've seen it recently where people are trashing other breweries for the liquid that they put out, and you know what? Maybe it's not their fault. Maybe their brewing techniques are not great. Maybe the ingredients they have aren't up to their snuff, or whatever the case may be. But I love the fact of it's how you treat those people when you leave to make them feel good about themselves, even if the beer is not up to what it is. Did you drink it? Did you have all of it? It's not like it was a drain pour. I think that's a fantastic answer.
Michael was it. If I can relate one quick story.
Yeah.
I remember taking him to a small brewery in southern New Jersey, and he tried a particular beer, and he said, I'm going to say 8% wheat. And the brewer had to refer to his notes to find that it was, in fact, 10% wheat. That's how precise this man's sense of taste was.
Wow.
He blew me away.
I
know.
I would never even come close to that. That's fantastic. My palate is shot. Oh, my goodness. My guest has been Gary Monterosso. He's an author, host of various beer and music programs, and is just recently asked to be on the advisory board of the new American Craft Beer Hall of Fame. More info is at the website. Just go to AmericanCraftBeerHallOfFame.com. You can also check out his show, Beverage Chronicles, on Saturdays at pop999fm.com, or his other program, Vintage Vinyl, on Thursdays, also at pop999fm.com. Gary, thanks so much for joining me tonight. I very much appreciate it.
Thank you, my friend. Take care.
You got it. Up next, it's time for Suds and Duds on the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970 The Answer. Final segment of the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970 The Answer. The wallflowers and one headlight. Boy, does that send you back into the past, doesn't it? If you're a fan of 90s alternative and grunge, all that other good stuff. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Interesting stuff. All right, portions of the program, of course, brought to you by Wet Ticket Brewing, 1435 Main Street in beautiful Rahway, New Jersey. All right, let's kick it off, Suds and Duds, with Surly, which I had at Paragon Tap and Table, a solid West Coast IPA. I know they're very rare these days. Piney, nice bite, delicious. Good to see it on tap. Good to see a West Coast IPA on tap because, again, you don't see many of them. And everybody hangs with the juicy stuff. And you know what? After a while, you get tired of that. Just a little bit. Anyway, but moving along, when I was at Double Tap Brewing a couple of weeks ago, interviewing Jeff Moriello, let me tell you something. he had me try Kite and Key, which is their sort of session IPA. Let me tell you something. This is a perfect tailgating IPA. The right ABV, not enough to get you over the top after drinking two of them, right in that 6% range, which is what you want. I'd even take it a step lower and make it around 5. But this is a perfect, sessionable tailgating IPA. Weather's warm, you want something that's got a little bit of juice to it, but is not going to, after 2 or 3, you're going to be like, all right, you know what? I've had too many 8-9%ers. I got to back off. This is something you could drink consistently during a tailgate. Usually for me during a tailgate now, I'll stick with Pilsners and, lagers. I'll stick with lower ABV stuff. Maybe I'll ramp it up before I go in with something a little bit heavier. But I don't want to do heavy and then go back to light. I want to go light, work my way up, and then sort of stay there, and that's it. If I have one more when I walk in, that's about it. I won't go beyond that. But that was a delicious beer, Kite and Key. In fact, I took a crowler home of that, which I ended up bringing to tailgate, which we'll get to, I believe, on next week's program, the way I have it mapped out. The boot, though, I did have, which was a very tasty Italian Pils. Nice dry finish. This would go perfect with a slice or two of pepperoni pizza. And I'm not a big pepperoni guy. Like, if it's on pizza, I'll eat it, but I don't go out of my way to ask for it. But this is definitely something like that spiciness from the pepperoni and this crispness and the dryness from this Italian Pils would go perfect. Definitely have to bring a few friends over to Double Tap one of these days and enjoy some beers over there. It's a really cool spot. I mean, it used to be a post office, which is so cool. Now, Paragon Tap and Table, of course, one of my favorite places to eat and drink in beautiful Clark, New Jersey, where I live. Exit 135 off the Garden State Parkway, for those of you who care. And it's right off the Parkway, right in the Target Shopping Center. They did a couple of weeks back a seafood event, which they didn't do last year, but they've done it most years. There's a seafood boil. They had lobster rolls. They had all this great stuff, a whole lobster, all this great stuff. And part of it was sponsored by Duvel. And they had the rep there, and they had 2 different Duvels on tap. I had both of them. This was the Duvel 666%. Get it? The Duvel from Duvel Morgat. This is a great light Belgian ale that was delicious. Went perfect with the seafood boil. Really, really nice and refreshing. The glass I got to take home, nice, thick, heavy, just what you want from a beer. A really good glass to hold it in. Then I had the Del Teve, big, boozy, and fruity. This is the type of Belgian beer at over 10% that you pour it while you're in the yard, you enjoy it, you sit and sip it, you let those fruits, sort of all blend in. Nice cigar, maybe not even a cigar, maybe just some nice music, a nice night. I didn't drink last weekend because I had some issues with my joints. It wasn't gout, but it was this bunion that I have that's really bad. Not that you really need to know that, but I just wanted to avoid alcohol and stuff. I was drinking a lot of water and trying to, do different things, and none of it worked. But Saturday and Sunday were like the perfect nights to sit out last weekend, out in the backyard, and I didn't get a chance to do it, and I kind of regret that. But what are you going to do? Speaking of which, that Kite and Key that I told you about at Double Tap, yeah, well, I had the crowler at a concert, which was, I think this was this Hailstorm? I think this was the Hailstorm show. Perfect tailgate beer, like I said. If you love IPAs, it's enough to get you buzzed without overwhelming you. Then I moved on with Demolition Man by Icarus. Banging hazy, nice hop, juicy and delicious. Was trying to clear out my fridge. I actually did a good job of clearing out the beer fridge because with a couple concerts, you bring beers, everybody's sharing and back and forth. So Thalassophile, I had some cans of that. Rawaka and Strata. Go to Red Bank, New Jersey. Buy these guys beers. Fantastic. Great stuff. Matt is just killing it. Just bought their new one. I haven't had it yet, but I will be reviewing it soon. Nightglow's CO3. Finished some of those as well. Floral and bright. Nice. I love the can. It's zippy. It's got a little bit of got a little fruitiness to it, but a little zip to it, which is always a good thing. Had Drip by Carton inside of PNC. That was the one beer that I had inside. I love it. Nicely done. A great New Jersey IPA. Just solid. Got a little bit of haze, just a tiny bit of juice. Really nice, super beer. By the way, congratulations to Carton, 13 years this weekend. Their 13th anniversary. Last weekend was Cane's 13th anniversary. Got Cane's 13th anniversary ale. I think they had 13 different hops in it. Have to try that. Can't wait to enjoy that. Let's see. What else did I have here? I'm trying to think. Was I supposed to stop there? I think I was supposed to stop after that drip. Yeah, that's right. All right. So I was supposed to stop after the drip by Carton, but I'll go one more. I had Troon. I had a final can of Troon. Let's Get Out of Here, which I brought to share with my buddy Feeney. It just went down perfectly at the Sammy Hagar show. I mean, it was great, and it was nice because it had rained. We dealt with the raindrops, and then we cracked that open and decided to have that Troon beer. I've missed the last couple of Troon releases just because, again, they're random times when they pop up, and if you're not on it when it actually happens, you end up getting the short end of the stick. But listen, kudos to both Carton and Cane. 13 years, it's a big deal. There are only a couple of more breweries in New Jersey that have been open longer than Carton and Cane. Cape May, Climax, if you go there. There's only a couple places. So to be there, to be in New Jersey and be as successful as both of those breweries are for 13 years is pretty good. And, Cane has a beautiful new tap room. Carton has improved their tap room as well. They have really done some nice things over the last couple of years. So definitely stop by and check both of them out. When I was at Cane, I didn't have time to sit and drink a beer. I was sort of making a beer run of the Friday before last where I just wanted to hit a bunch of different places and didn't have time to really drink at any of them. I stopped at Source. I stopped at Cane. And then I ended up at Five Dimes Coastal. And I just basically picked up beer and came home because it was, the remnants of Hurricane Debbie. Wanted to get home, make sure I was safe. And so I didn't want to waste time. I shouldn't say waste time, but it would have been time-consuming to drink a beer and then move on. It's good that you support different breweries. I was down at Old Heights Brewing last weekend. Quick stop in. I was at a family reunion, which we had a wonderful time at the Gattulo family reunion. And picked up a 4-pack of their Hefeweizen. Had never been there before. I was in town. I said, you know what, let me stop and pick up something from them and bring it home. It's good to support all these places. Here's what I don't understand. So I posted something on social media, and I said it was a great day, riding around and supporting these different Monmouth County breweries, because the 3 breweries that I stopped at, aside from Old Heights, which was on Saturday, were all in Monmouth County. And then somebody had to chime in to say, you should try Twin Lights. They're better than those 2. And I said, well, there's 3 breweries represented. Which 2 are you talking about? And the guy says, all 3. Okay. Now, if I come to find out, the guy works at Twin Lights. Now, again, I've had 1 beer from Twin Lights. It was okay. I'm not trying to hate on them. But I have not been to their brewery in Tinton Falls, which is where Jug Handle used to be, to really sample their stuff. And I'll get down there at some point. But, I mean, to say that about other breweries, I don't know. I don't like the whole trashing of – look, there's 2 breweries in New Jersey I'll never go to. I won't go to Yale Terrace and I won't go to Climax. But I've made no secret of that. And people know my reasons why. But to trash on another brewery just because you work at another brewery that maybe is not doing as well business-wise, or maybe the beers aren't as good, or maybe whatever, location, I don't know. But to sit there and rip another brewery for just they're doing their job, it's not cool. That's all. Just going to leave it at that. My thanks to everybody involved in the show, as well as my guest, Gary Monterosso. And, of course, last but not least, the great Buddy Watson. Again, portions of the program brought to you by Wet Ticket Brewing, 1435 Main Street in beautiful Rahway, New Jersey. I am back on the Joe Piscopo Show Monday at 6 a.m. Hope to see some of you at Wet Ticket this Wednesday for Cigar Night, 7 to 10 p.m. This has been the Al Gattulo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970 The Answer. Cheers, everybody.